go ahead and get this kicked off. We have it recorded. More people will start to pour in. We had about usually on these we get about 20 to 30 registrants, and then we shoot them out to the subscribers. But thank you everyone for coming today. I'm Kyle McDonald, co-founder of Silicon Oasis. We are a 501c3 nonprofit focused here in Phoenix, Arizona. Focus on uniting Arizona startup ecosystem. We host tech events throughout the year, including pitch events, mixers, panels, summit, you name it. Last year we hosted over 40 tech events. We also have a media arm, so we produce a monthly magazine called the Silicon Oasis Magazine. That's a hard print as well as digital. Digital is free if you want to check it out. We also have a news network, podcast, social media, etc. And it's all about promoting Arizona as the Silicon Oasis. And today is a live webinar, and happy to present my man, Lucas Poles, who actually did a fantastic internship or fellowship or whatever you want. I mean, I call it both. So he is the general partner and founder of now 1752 VC, which was previously called Pegasus Angel Accelerator when I was there. They are fantastic, and I won't take too much of your thunder, Lucas, but the way that I met Lucas was through the fellowship, and what they have is this amazing online curriculum for venture capital, for accelerators, as well as angel investing. And I went through the venture education. It was about a 3-month program, learned a ton, paid a ton of money too, but hoping to get reimbursed when I find you an investment, Lucas.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of, so the prognosis is if you pay, I think it was about $2,000. And if we as fellows found a startup for him to invest in, then we got that reimbursed. So pretty fun. I haven't found it yet, but I think we will. Seeing lots of deal flow, especially here in Arizona. But yeah, Lucas, let's go ahead and kick it off. Hope I didn't steal too much of your thunder, but yeah, tell us just who you are and how you got into this space.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for that. You didn't steal the thunder, so don't worry. And yeah, I definitely want to send back that accountability for you here. So I'm Lucas Poles. I'm the GP of 1752. We're an early stage accelerator. So we sit kind of above kind of that next stage above what like a Techstars or a YCOM kind of looks at. And so a Techstars and Antler, they will take companies that are kind of ideation. We're just the step right above that. And our focus really a lot of the time is finding companies that have a little bit of traction and then taking our skills with go-to-market strategy and really amplifying them to the next level. We've been fortunate with the portfolio companies that we've invested in. I think the fund's already 2x'd over a year and a half. A couple of them have already raised multiple $1 million rounds after going through this, a lot of stuff with us. And one of our portfolio companies, who was at like probably 50K ARR, is now at like a $3 million run rate. So it's working, some of our methodology. So we're generalists. We'll look at basically everything. I won't do biotech, probably because I can't really help with biotech, but anything else we will take a hard look at. Before 1752, I was president of Pegasus Angel, so I've been investing for about 10 years. So president of there, and then I ran an accelerator previously before TCA. Similar methodology, but I got into venture by accident. A lot of people end up falling into it this way, in that I was running a startup. Someone who I had chatted with previously, it was like, hey, we're starting a fund. We're opening an accelerator in LA and want you to go in and help run it. And I was like, originally I told him no, but ended up jumping in later on. And yeah, the rest is history. Been a fun decade doing this stuff.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And Lucas, so I know you're based in Santa Monica, LA scene. Now, there's quite a few venture capital firms and accelerators in that area, very saturated. What was when you launched Pegasus? I don't know which one to say. Should I say Pegasus or 1752?
It's 1752. I know it's gonna be
When you
super confusing for the next year.
when you launched 1752, so obviously you're focused on the early stage. What was kind of the mission of 1752 at first, and maybe even the niche, and how are you able to kind of carve that out in a market that is much more saturated than a market like Phoenix, for example, with investors and venture capital dollars?
Yeah. So the white space. So I have sounded like a crazy person for the last 5 years talking about GTM and about distribution. I am now probably in the last 18 months finally starting to hear other people latch on to that I don't know, proof point concept for early stage startups, and that it takes a lot to get to product led growth. It's not just something that generally happens overnight. There's a bunch behind the scenes that you don't end up seeing. And so we felt that there was space in the ecosystem to be able to execute on that, because it's not something that a lot of people end up going after. I have a unique background, especially in venture. A lot of people start in finance and then go into venture, but I also started my career in sales. So first job out of college, I was knocking on doors, asking for business at a Fortune 200. So it's a little bit of a different path than a lot of other people take. And so I probably have a different perspective on this than a lot of others who are in traditional VC.
Dude, that's an awesome. Can you hear me all right? I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Awesome. Interesting sharing that background, Lucas, because you named two of the things how I got into venture as well. I did door-to-door for pest control out in Boston about 5 years ago, and then got to go to New York for grad school, and then pivoted, studied quant management, did finance, and then from finance straight into VC. So hit the nail on the head there. One of the questions that I had, and I'm excited to hear your answer on, is that you've been investing for the past 10 years.
Yeah.
What has been one thing that has held absolutely true as you make your investment decisions? One feature about a founder, what's one thing that you say, yep, this, even through AI, through, .coms, what's one of those things that has just stayed stable for your investment conviction?
That's an interesting one. The last 10, I mean, that it's all about the team still. The idea doesn't necessarily matter. It's good when the idea has a more linear path than outside of it, and what we end up seeing from the data. But having a complete team is, to me, still the number one thing. So having both sides of the coin, right? So the CEO that potentially has sales experience, and then the CT, and then having a technical person. I would say 7 years ago, you saw a lot of the quote unquote business people starting startups without a technical founder. That's kind of flipped on its head recently. I'm seeing a lot more technical founders without someone who can go out and sell, probably over the last year. And so it doesn't matter which side of the coin that you're on, you need both sides to be able to kind of execute on what you're looking for. And a lot of time, if we bend that rule or get away from it, a lot of time the deal doesn't end up working in the long run. And so, yeah.
Love that. That was going to be my follow-up question, which is, and what's one thing where you've tried bending the rules on, where you think maybe, and then every time it just falls flat on its face?
Yeah, I would say it still goes back to the team. I'd say that on the flip side, though, for a deal, something that's becoming more interesting recently is, especially around market size, a lot of founders don't understand market size well enough, or have the concept down. Like the 90% of the time, it's wrong on what their pitch decks actually are. But as someone with more experience of understanding like where a venture could potentially go, not entirely discounting a market because it doesn't look big enough right off the bat is something that we're taking kind of a second look at. I know that we have a portfolio company now who originally I'd said no because the market size wasn't large enough. I think they had 80,000 potential customers, but we ended up working with them for like a month and a half. And then like during that time, figured out that they have a tangential market right next door that is probably 40 times what their actual market size is. And I'm like, why does this even exist? Like this this whole market you could take over. It doesn't make sense that it's even here. And as soon as we changed the story, that's when they went out and raised like $3 million.
I love that you share that because for a lot of the founders listening, they probably, depending on their product and solution, have the opportunity to shift into tangential markets, side markets that honestly sometimes want your solution more than your original one. And I know that's probably a hot take, but oftentimes, right, the people you're selling to aren't the ones who need it now. And there's maybe a bigger market that's just begging for something like you're building.
Sure.
Lucas, one thing that Phoenix, and I want to kind of shift talking about Phoenix and the market here. It's a very interesting tech scene. It's been very fragmented for really most of its history. There's been some activity in some great companies here, like the GoDaddies of the world, a couple other companies here and there. But one thing Josue and I always talk about is speed and velocity, founder velocity, really. And that's one thing that through Silicon Oasis, through our events or our media, that we try to inspire in founders is move fast, fail fast, move as quickly as San Francisco, as New York, as someone would in LA. Could you talk a little bit about that speed, what that looks like, just kind of that concept, because sometimes here in Phoenix and other smaller markets, of course, that aren't as concentrated with tech, that can be kind of a foreign concept.
I mean, it's you have to be relentless in this. Like even as we're not even a startup. As a VC, I'm working anywhere from 80 to 90 hours a week at minimum. Like, and I don't get off. Like, I don't have like off time. Like I had vacation at the end of December this year for the first time in 3 years because it seemed like things finally slowed down, but it's not like I get to get off of my phone for what we're actually doing. So, I don't know how. It's such an interesting concept. I don't know how to inspire that. I would probably pick a competitor in SF and one that maybe is next to what you're doing or like not in necessarily the exact same space, but try to replicate that same type of velocity if you're looking at like a Lovable or someone else. Because I promise you that you don't, especially right now with, I've never seen the ecosystem move as fast as it's moving right now. You used to have a little bit more time. You have no time right now. We literally had to change the structure of our application process for the cohorts and move away from a cohort model because AI is moving so quickly. Like we used to I would review anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 deals over the 5 weeks to get to our 5 to 10 portfolio companies. We had to do away with that. 5 weeks is too long at this point for an accelerator. And so like we're reviewing deals every single week. And my goal, and this is slow from a deal review standpoint, but it's fast for an accelerator, 2 weeks with a decision in and out from when you submit an application. And so that's even from a VC perspective, like we're trying to push the velocity a lot faster because the ecosystem is just moving that fast. You have to keep your foot on the gas right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, that was great insight. And that I did notice because you guys used to post like your new cohorts. I'm like, I haven't seen a post recently, but there's some restructuring, just given that speed.
Yeah, I mean it's insane. We got away from the cohorts as well because I wanted to. The challenge with accelerators a lot of the time is that if you are bringing in 10 portfolio companies and you're putting them through classes, a lot of the time they will end up going to a class that they personally don't necessarily find valuable, right? Because you are trying to structure something for 10 different sets of people at 10 different levels on their journey. And so what we ended up doing was we're like, okay, we're going to customize the program for each founder that comes through. So because we have so many startup programs and the other pieces that we're doing, we can create a custom curricular for that specific founder to really help drive that acceleration even faster than it was before, to really fill in some of the gaps that they had.
Yeah, no, and kind of a follow-up question on that. You're looking at all these companies, you're looking at all these pitch decks, reviewing them, trying to get them out after a 2-week review. So are all these are all mostly pre-seed, seed stage companies?
Pre-seed generally, yeah. Some seed. I mean, seed right now is a moving target, right? Like seed, the true definition of seed is what Series A was like 5 years ago, which is so weird. So yeah,
2022, right?
Yeah, it's I honestly, they should we all need to move away because the names of rounds, right, are marketing schemes. Like that's what it is. If you're raising $2 billion for a seed round, like you're just trying to highlight that on TechCrunch or something else to drive views, to drive recruitment, etc. Yeah, I totally just lost my thought of where I was going. But yes, pre-seed, seed, pre-seed, and the old seed, that space.
So what's actually mattering to you right now in most, like, traction, like clarity of vision, founder background, something else entirely?
So yeah,
bias.
the three things that maybe I even include a fourth in this. So it's team, it's market size, and then it's traction. But traction is not. The goal with traction is to validate that the problem that you are solving is worth solving, right? Like it's never up to me to validate what you're doing. One of my best performing portfolio companies, I literally wrote a check into them and I said, like, I will never be a user. This is the dumbest idea I could possibly think of, but I've never seen the arc that you're doing right now. It's just ludicrous. And so it's never up to me to validate this stuff. And so when we look externally for the traction, it's a lot of times by talking to customers and finding out what problem that they're actually solving for them specifically, or to just be able to validate kind of what they're doing. Now, the fourth component I would probably add in now is, are you building the system like correctly, like with AI? Like there's a difference a lot of time between like using a wrapper, like a full like GPT wrapper, and then potentially using like a RAG model with your own proprietary data set on what you're looking for those kind of next stages. And so that, to me, like, do you actually know what you're talking about, or you're just trying to hype up and throw AI into a product that might not even need what it's specifically looking for? Like, what makes you actually better at what you're doing? So I'd say that's probably the fourth thing that we look at, especially from a tech aspect now, especially in this new relevant kind of age.
Love it. Josue, you got anything?
What would you? Yeah. Sorry, I had to pick up the microphone to speak.
Thanks,
for founders going into this kind of sea of competitive AI building, right? Because there's the notion now, and true to a degree, where getting your MVP to at least get some funding is a lot quicker, just because you can create something tangible.
Yeah.
But to your point, right? You got to have a real base for it. What are 3 steps they should always keep in mind as they're going from inception to MVP, to make sure that base is correct?
Yeah. I don't know if I can give you 3. I'd say that the first one is, don't waste money a lot of the time. Like very early stage founders waste too much money thinking they need to build something, right? Like you can test a problem with a landing page, right? Hey, we're getting pre-orders. Hey, we're getting people with actual purchase intent for what we're looking for to drive the problem that is out there specifically. I've watched way too many founders like, oh, you know what? I gotta spend a bunch of money doing X, Y, and Z. It used to be hiring a dev shop. Now it's probably lovable. And then honestly, I'm seeing more GTM consultants than anything else as there's people are starting to pull it through. So don't waste money. You can test an idea for less than $1,000, and you really should before you go down the path of quitting a job and burning the boats and doing all of these kind of pieces. So yeah, I would say that's probably the biggest mistake that I see founders make. The other two, off the top of my head, I have no idea.
I mean, one's great, right? I think that's a great insight for anyone who said, "Oh man, I was about to blow 10 grand on. I was about to pull a friend and spend $1 million for Subway ads in New York." So
yeah. I mean, I see a lot of that too. Yeah, I mean, when it gets to GTM stuff, that's interesting you bring that up. Like, don't waste money. Oh, that's another one. Number 2, don't waste money on advertising, right? Like, you need to learn how to push the boundaries of growth hacking to figure out where your target customers are for being able to get that first initial traction. I hate when people come in, they're like, oh, well, we're raising $1 million and we're going to spend 500 on ads. I'm like, okay, that if it's that easy, anyone can do it, right? So I want to understand like how you are pushing boundaries and have some unique piece for that GTM motion that can get you that initial traction, because you're resource constrained as a startup. If you had all the money in the world, way different story, right? But the resource constraints drive innovation in your own processes, and so don't think of them as negative. Think of them as an opportunity to be able to think outside of the box to be able to execute.
love it. I've got a follow-up one, kind of following this streak of don't be wasteful, because back in the day, if you had a huge team, that was a signal of, oh, they're doing great. I would say we've largely moved away from that. Hopefully we've moved away from that, not hiring for the sake of hiring. At a pre-seed stage for a purely software or AI play, what size do you recommend for a team? Because I see a lot of founders, they'll ask us, right? Silicon Oasis, hey, I need 4 software engineers, and they haven't even raised their pre-seed round yet. And I'm like,
So, I don't need
So,
that many.
yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Love
I
to
mean,
hear
if
that.
people in general, like I wouldn't want you having more really than 5, probably a pre-seed now. Because you don't need it. I mean, stuff like you used to have a person entirely dedicated for customer service and figuring out what and making sure that people are taken care of. AI is killing it in customer service, right? Like that is just it's opened up a new frontier for being able to go through with customers. I mean, the amount of productivity that you can get per person right now, just especially with good people, is largely ludicrous. And so, I would avoid hiring a ton of people, increasing burn for no reason if they're not useful, because there's probably a way to automate one of the tasks or some of the tasks that you potentially need done now.
Love that you're saying all of this. I feel like a lot of the times, so my story, super nutshell, is that I grew up in Arizona, absolutely love the state. Got to go to New York for grad school. The world opened up in tech. Like they moved so fast. I got to work for a fund based out of New York and San Francisco. And I feel in underserved tech markets, a lot of the times they, again, appreciate your time, because I think they miss a lot of these things where it's like, oh, they want the work-life balance. And it's like, if you want to build the next Facebook, who? Never met her, right? So little things like that, where it's like, oh, they have the notion that startups is about like Shark Tank, just solely, right? And it's good to hear. I know, exactly. Yeah. I love that reaction, because that's what a lot of people think, though, honestly. Like they'll wear it as a, kind of badge of honor, and it's like, it's a little different. So I appreciate you sharing that. Go ahead.
Shark Tank is the best and worst thing to happen to the startup community, like ever. because I mean, you shouldn't even want to do a deal off of Shark Tank. The egregious like polls that they do within companies. I mean, honestly, they're the best way to think about Shark Tank is that you're investing in lifestyle businesses, right? They're not necessarily venture backable, or they're pure CPG plays. Like you're not getting into heavy tech whatsoever, and so yeah, it's entertaining to watch, but it's not how this actually works, and it's very frustrating for it to be portrayed the way that it is.
Yeah, Lucas, you get a lot of applicants through your accelerator. Have you seen any Arizona companies come through off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, I don't know, actually. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
No, because I mean, it's the location. We haven't invested in someone in Arizona yet. But a lot of times the location is more of a checkbox, like, hey, are you in the US, right? Like, or are you in Canada? Are you close? Are you domiciled here? Do you have customers here? Is generally what we end up caring about. But I don't think I have anyone in Arizona right now.
How important is that to you? Just location. Like I mentioned Arizona has been kind of an overlooked market for a long time, and in some cases rightly so. How important is that to you?
I don't care where you are in the US. Yeah, I don't. As long as you're in the US, I don't care. You will, if you are outside of the US, you have a lot of challenges trying to get funding, especially if you don't have US based customers. That's also a challenge. Even if you are in the US, you need to have US based customers, especially because our market is so big to be able to buy. But no, a lot of time, part of our thesis revolves around finding startups in undervalued ecosystems and bringing them to LA and then sending them up to the Valley for those kind of next pieces. So I don't think of it necessarily as a negative, but you do need to find the right personality type of person that is potentially in that underserved market, because yeah, work-life balance does not exist like in what we're doing. And that's why I tell I tell founders that you have to love this, right? Like you really have to love this, because I equate being a founder to you are crawling over broken glass to a bed of nails is my favorite thing about, right? It's a tough road, but you really have to believe in what you're doing, and then you have to outwork everyone else. That's part of the game. And so yeah, the rewards are high at the end, either monetarily or changing the world, right, on the two different paths for a startup. But yeah, I mean, this is not, if you want to relax, like go work at a corporate. Like this is not going to be the space for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the reasons we launched Silicon Oasis was to help create a community that embodies that speed, that sacrifice, and support, right? And because what's happened over the last 5 years, and we could cite some recent examples, is there's founders here in Arizona and Silicon Oasis who have that addiction, who have that love for their company, and have found some kind of thesis, and they get some funding, they get some pre-seed funding, they get some seed funding, and they actually end up leaving Arizona. They go to Boston, they go to San Francisco, they go to New York, for one, being around that environment, but two, also there was kind of a lack of community, lack of support here in Phoenix, which is of course why we launched this entity, right? And so it's been painful. It's been painful because Phoenix is not necessarily the greatest startup hub, of course, but we are becoming kind of an agglomeration for the semiconductor industry. Like
that is true. That's very true.
A lot of advanced manufacturing, like TSMC dropped $200 billion in this market, and we'll see what happens with Taiwan in that market. But so I guess what I'm trying to ask is, like, for founders building in Arizona, and for us, like community builders and investors who want Arizona startups to stay in Arizona and also to attract maybe people from out of state. What advice would you give these founders as they're looking to build credibility, momentum, and even like investor relationships?
Investor relationship, I mean, you're going to have to most likely commute. I mean, it depends on what it depends on what valuations you're looking at and how much money is the biggest thing. I will say that this is not a Phoenix only problem, even LA, right? There's been a push back towards the valley, which is very weird after how bad it got after COVID and probably in 23, because a lot of people ended up leaving. And so this isn't just there has been a lot of founders that have gone back there, but the positive thing is that if they exit, a lot of time they will return home. And then you have this nice diverse set of potentially new angel investors that are doing interesting things. For the people outside of the ecosystem, I would say that the biggest reason for probably staying where you are is that people like Silicon Oasis, right? You get a lot more support than you will probably get in the Valley. Like it is significantly more cutthroat there than anywhere else, even New York, LA, right? Like it's a step above. And so, especially earlier in the journey, like I would personally stay for a little bit because you will have a lot of organizations that can support you to help take you to that next level before, doing anything crazy.
I mean, that's a double-edged sword, right? I mean, I guess because being cutthroat in a way, especially from a VC perspective, I mean, you're weeding out the startups that you really shouldn't waste time on or could waste time on that you missed, but like so that's kind of a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah, I mean, for us, I mean, I would say yes. Potentially,
because we could have a more like supportive and collaborative environment, but at the end of the day, like maybe that company just sucks.
Honestly, it's a possibility, right? Like honestly, that's why we developed a lot of the startup programs that we have now, is because a lot of the companies that come through that apply to us, it's not a no, it's a not yet. It's like, you guys aren't ready yet for that kind of amplification of that kind of like, oh, you're at the swing, like, cool, this is where we kind of take off. A lot of them aren't at that point of liftoff yet. And so, I mean, that's part of the reason why we ended up creating the startup programs, is to help get them there for us to then have better deals to be able to invest in.
Love it. Josue, do you have anything else? If not, I was going to see if the attendees who came in today had some one or two questions.
Yeah, I'll let the attendees take a couple of the questions. Would love to hear from them.
Yeah, one or two. Anyone have a question for my man Lucas? Open queue. Looks like Greg. Oh, you can unmute, Greg, if you'd like.
Yeah, thank you so much. And Lucas, thanks so much for the information. I was taking notes feverishly on the things that you were talking about, and Happy New Year, by the way, as well.
Happy New Year. Let me give an addendum for everyone on the call, by the way, that I forgot to do at the beginning. Take everything I say with a grain of salt, right? I'm not in your venture every single day, right? This is from a generalist view outside of what you are doing. So with an asterisk, if something is useful, use it. If it is not, throw it away, right? Like that. I usually start with those, but I forgot to do that. So
I always appreciate it. Yeah, I always appreciate that. So I'm an early stage SaaS founder working in the ed tech area, particularly with public schools. And the struggle I know. And the struggle we always have in that particular area, it's like social entrepreneurship. You have, we can have the best idea in the world, but everyone's belief is schools have no money. So they're not a good investment because they have no money. That's part of it. But I'm just curious, what advice would you give to someone like myself who's trying to move into that area? I have extensive K-12 experience. I have post-secondary experience, things of that nature. So the idea is coming from that. And I have people who are working with me as well, too. So I have the team part that you were talking about. So
is it possible to build the tool that you're looking for outside of the universities and do something B2C versus the school, sorry, the K through 12, not university? Because the biggest challenge with ed tech in schools is not necessarily that they don't have money. It's that it is, right? Started my career in sales. I was number one, right? Like President's Club multiple times, sales executive of the year, district manager of the year, like in outbound sales. I personally would rather pull my fingernails off than try to go sell to schools. Like that's how tough of a sale it is. And so a lot of the time what ends up happening is that because it turns into an enterprise type of sale, when in reality you're not necessarily getting those same dollars back from the contracts. And so that you're upside down on CAC and LTV. And that's one of the biggest challenges with selling to schools. Now, I think the K through 12 potentially has higher, is a better fit than the universities right now. But all of education there's going to be kind of big upheaval over the next 5 to 10 years. And so even trying to figure out where education is actually going to end up going in the new age of AI is it's an interesting intellectual exercise of really being able to figure it out. My nephews are going into, they're in 8th grade right now. They're going into the 9th. I'm like, if you guys, like, they asked me, oh, should we go to college? Like, right now, yes, I still think yes, but I don't know in 5 years. Like, I don't know if it's the same. So, yeah. Did that help at all, or did I just
no, it
bag
did
on ed tech?
No, it's okay. It's totally, I get it. My passion is mostly to help, much like you were mentioning your nephews. That's where our focus is at, is redesigning the way that schools operate, because you need to with AI. That's the whole purpose of it. And so we have a team, a great team here in Arizona of people that are committed to that. We've met with superintendents. They love the vision. In fact, we have prototype customers. The problem is you're bringing together these people, and anytime you talk about education, there's this wall that just seems to go up. And so you're trying to break through this wall. You're the social entrepreneur person. You're trying to tell them, invest in students, invest in these things, invest in this change. And so it's always it's just a tough way to kind of burst through.
It's like turning a cruise ship. It really is. Now, what I generally find a little bit more interesting just in the space is like, okay, what if we break the entire mold? Like, what happens then? Like, what is that next potential evolution of what we're looking at, rather than, because there's a lot of inefficiencies in school in general, right? Like I've personally seen it. Like there's a lot that can be done. I would say, is there a new paradigm to be able to think about and break out of the traditional mold that we're actually thinking about? Like I've seen people fully break out and become accredited universities, and everything is online and through AI. And it's like, okay, this is that. It's like, it's $500. So instead of paying $100,000 for whatever you're doing, it's like, hey, here's the next level. So is there a mold that you can break out of rather than potentially working within it? I don't know, but it is one of the, I'd say EdTech and GovTech are probably two of the toughest spaces in general for
work through.
For selling.
Well, at least I know that the feeling that I'm getting is something that's recognized by all in that situation.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Greg.
Of course.
Let's take one more from Abby.
Hey, so I just had a quick question on your go-to-market, when you were talking about go-to-market and specifically operating.
Tell them about you and your company.
Oh, yeah, sure. So I'm a startup founder. I'm working on a company called Captivate, and we're trying to build an EEG well, not trying, we did build it, but an EEG headset that gives you a vibration when you get distracted to help people who struggle with ADHD or just inattention generally be more productive in their day-to-day. So we're at the point where we've gotten to the point where we have a testable product, like we have something we can give to people in like more controlled environments. We're still testing right now, and we're starting to think about go to market. And the point you brought up about being able to operate within the constraints that you have and more or less being more creative about it, I was wondering if you could give an example of a team that you've seen go through their go to market in a way that was like creative, helped produce good results with the constrained resources that they have. Like if you've seen anything that would be a good example for us to look at as a way to model.
Yeah, I'll give you two like big, like named ones, right?
Okay.
So Airbnb, when they started out, Airbnb was not necessarily a fully unique idea, right? But what they did when they first started out is that they went onto Craigslist. They basically scraped their entire, all of their listings for their apartment, for the rentals and the stuff that they had on there, put it on the platform. When someone booked on the platform, they would send a message to the person through Craigslist saying, hey, you've got X, Y, and Z dollars sitting on Airbnb for a booking. Do you want to accept it? And that's how they built out that two-sided market, right? Bumble did a lot of very weird, creative things at the beginning that are good. One was they posted signs all over universities that said Facebook, no Snapchat, no Bumble. So that all of a sudden you had word association of Bumble with these larger companies. And so people would start to question like, oh, what the hell is Bumble? I've never even heard about that. They hired models and sent them into class 15 minutes late wearing Bumble shirts to fully drive attention on a very targeted, like within one campus to start that kind of new market. Growth hacking is a lot of the time, it is finding whatever you're trying to do and just pushing the boundaries and kind of working a little bit in that gray area, right? Like if you had asked, like the Airbnb example, right? That would piss off a lot of people at Craigslist, right? Like that is not a kind thing to do. And so you have to, a lot of time, work a little bit in that gray area and to be able to figure out like, hey, how do we succeed? I have no budget for this. I have no ability to be able to do it. So how do I do that? And some of the time it's just sitting there thinking, like some of my best growth hacks has been just like trying out different systems. I mean, we try out everything for the portfolio companies. And so we push the boundaries on all systems, seeing what we can do and thinking like just outside of the box on things. It's a very weird kind of generic answer, which sucks, but
it's all good.
From that standpoint, it's because there's so many different kind of vulnerabilities within different systems that you probably specifically use right now that you're like, okay, let me figure out a way around this to accomplish my goal by pushing the boundaries of what someone else might end up doing. I would not say go full Uber, right?
Yeah.
Like that was that's a different level. But yeah, feel free to push.
Great.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Abby. Lucas, how are we doing on time?
Okay.
Great. Chris, I saw you were in the queue. Did you have a question?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead and introduce yourself, what you do, and kick it off.
I'll turn the light on so maybe you can see me. Lucas, thanks this has been great. So I'm Christopher Tricola. and I'm a longtime entrepreneur, 20 years, multiple companies. This company, we're working on something different, transition from tech to consulting, and now it's more standards building that we're doing for the AI industry. And I love what you were saying about, velocity, speed. And I was just kind of, there's always been one quote that I've loved, and it's been really helpful in bootstrapping businesses in the past. Millionaires compete and billionaires collaborate. And I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that, that type of mindset when bootstrapping a business before getting into a point where you can get investment.
I'm fully in favor of bootstrapping to begin with. I think that if you can bootstrap, right? Like if you have done, let me give an addendum actually on that. If you have done well in previous careers, you are not allowed to use all of your own personal money for what you are doing, because you will not constrain yourself on that innovation piece to be able to take it to the next level. So what I would say is that I would set yes, bootstrap if you absolutely can, but set a dollar amount aside. Like, hey, I'm going to set aside 10 grand, and this is the money that I have to be able to get this off the ground, to start generating revenue. It doesn't even have to be 10, it could be 1, right? Like, it's like, okay, I have 1 grand to be able to spend to get this business off the ground and be able to started getting revenue. How do I do that? Let me work backwards from that. Let me start trying different things to get to those places. To me, a lot of the time, that's what drives a lot of the successful entrepreneurs that have done well, is because it's not even velocity. It's a different type of desperation, right? That you can kind of force on yourself of like, oh shit, like any founder that has never, that has been like, oh shit, I don't know if I'm going to make payroll next week, like doesn't know what it's really like to be a founder. And so if, as for anyone on the call, if you've done well in previous endeavors, right, constrain yourself to being that kind of broke, I can only eat ramen piece, because it will push you to that next level and drive a lot more than you originally thought was possible. But yeah, I love it for bootstrapping. I'm a huge advocate of it always.
Thanks, man.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for the questions, Chris. All right. Any other questions? Josue, you look like you got something on your mind.
Yeah, I would say, I guess one final question from me. As founders look to build, and you kind of answered it a little bit at the beginning already, what is the best first impression a founder can make on an investor? Because I think that one's just completely overlooked. They talk about, the near investment and investment decisions, the term sheets, when, in my opinion, right, there's a culture, there's a dance between how you should be selling your story to investors. So in your opinion, Lucas, what's the best first impression a founder should and can make?
Let's even talk about first impression versus like funding, right? Like, be likable. Like, it drives me nuts when and it's the reason why VCs a lot of time don't go to like open events, is because we have founders that just like harass us as soon as we walk in. It's a lot better to if someone comes up to you and just wants to have a conversation, doesn't seem like they're trying to ask you for something, like generally I will offer my help at the end to try to help them with whatever they're doing. Hey, yes, we have no application. We'd love for you to apply, but like, let me make a couple connections for you. If I had a genuinely good conversation with them, the number one attribute that people overlook when fundraising is that a lot of times the founder, like, you want them to be likable, because we're in like a long-term relationship, short-term marriage, right? Like, it's 7 to 10 years minimum if we're doing a venture investment. And so we're in this with you for the long run. If you're like a total dick, like, I don't think, like, I could potentially walk away from a deal if that was the case, because it's just my quality of life just dives so much faster if I have to be stuck with you for a decade. So be likable, right? People want to be able to help people. And so, yeah, that's the number one overlooked advice from
I am so glad you said that. That's one of the things that founders are probably sick of me saying, But it was interesting because when I was in New York, people understood that. So it was conversations and it flowed. And then I kid you not, I started getting involved in Arizona. And as soon as people found out I was a VC for a SF New York fund, oh, hey, my idea, I shut down immediately, literally 0.7 seconds. And I'm just like, done.
So we can curse Shark Tank, and now we can curse Silicon Valley because it's super accurate, but like getting funding at like a valet stand is implausible, right? Like
right. At a valet stand. Yeah, perfect scenario.
Oh.
Yeah, and like you're talking about being a jerk. I mean, obviously, a lot of the people who are pitching you or submitting to your accelerator are young men, young women, and they're maybe some cases late teens, early 20s, mid 20s. There's still a lot of growing up to do in a way, and
it is. I promise you, I wish this was the case. It is not. It is not just that age range that has this problem. Yeah. We've passed on deals where they like, oh, we got all these famous people, right? Like we know X, Y, and Z. We know this, we know that, and like just yeah, we passed on deals that way. I will say it.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be young.
I had no for sure. I had a question, or I had a conversation with actually a new employee at our investment firm here, and he actually asked me literally today. He's like, "Hey, like, how are you, like, so calm all the time? Like, even in like, I'm used to being in high stress situations, working at an investment firm, working on multi-million-dollar deals, skydiver, big wave surfer. Like, how do you remain chill?" I'm like, when I'm frustrated, and sorry, this isn't a therapy call, but like anyone who listens to this, if you're frustrated or you're getting rejected or anything, it's like channel that energy into questions. Seriously, like if you get rejected, like channel that frustration into a simple question of like, hey, like help me. Like if I'm talking to Lucas and Lucas rejects my company or whatever, like, hey, Lucas, help me understand XYZ, or like, hey, I'm having a hard time seeing something this way, or hey, just direct that being a dick energy towards questions and understanding.
Yeah.
Right?
You should. Oh, sorry, I cut you off.
No, that was it. That was honestly, and that helps me on a day-to-day basis, and especially like I'm dealing with investment opportunities. I'm dealing with investors every single day, and even LPs. Like with LPs, like I want to work with LPs that I like, and we're not nearly working with them as much as founders, right? Like if I don't like an LP and they're a jerk to me, it's like I don't even want your money. Like seriously. So,
I've said no to LPs. So I feel I 100% feel that. Yeah.
Well, Lucas, go ahead.
No, go for it.
Say it. No.
I don't even remember.
Good,
no, I do. I lied. If you have the energy to be a dick, like you're not working hard enough, right? Like you shouldn't even have that type of energy, like to waste. Like that is like as an FYI.
Yeah, that right there is that is the perfect thing to end on right there. That is the perfect phrase. I love it. Well, Lucas, you've been phenomenal. We here at the Silicon Oasis in Arizona, we're going to be blasting this out to our many subscribers and to our community. You've been so awesome. What's the best way for anyone on this call and anyone in the Arizona tech community to get in touch with you?
LinkedIn is generally super easy. I have the new mantra in December was I'm accepting every invitation. So if you send a message and you try to connect with me, I will accept it and I will see your message. If you're interested in any of the startup programs, just visit our website. We have an open application for funding. So jump on, feel free to apply to Accelerate. If you're not at that stage, feel free to look at any of the other startup programs. And let us know how we can be helpful.
Love it. Well, once again, thank you so much. Thank you for everyone who attended, and we'll Lucas, we'll sync up on another call about this future fund. So
Yeah, sounds like
Yeah.
a deal.
okay. Thank
All
you
right, guys.
everyone. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Lucas.
Bye.
Bye.